everyone into another episode of First Take, Her Take. So happy to have you here with us. I'm Charlie Arnold. You can find me on First Take. You can find me on Sports Nation. And now, starting tonight, you can find me on a brand new show coming to you only on ESPN Plus. Oh, and ESPN socials. It is called After The Ultimate Fighter, which is a show that will be now streaming on ESPN Plus. You all have heard of The Ultimate Fighter, of course, but now it's being revived, rejuvenated. It's coming back. Tonight is episode 1, so I will be on ESPN Plus afterwards, breaking down the competition. Also, of course, the drama, which you all know I'm here for in every aspect of the word, whether it's a reality show or my own life. You know, I love to talk about it. So that's an exciting new thing you can catch. And yeah, that's it, everybody. After The Ultimate Fighter, coming to you on ESPN Plus tonight. Wow, I should know this, but I think 10 p.m. Eastern, but then you can catch it later on in the week on ESPN Plus. So there you go. That's my plug, my intro. And Kimberly, my girl, what's up?
Hello, everybody. I'm Kimberly A. Martin, ESPN NFL reporter. Charlie's all about the tea. I'm going to say I'm the voice of reason on the pod. Today, I'm rocking my Black History Always Pulse shirt. Shout out to Shalita Strong from ESPN for sending over some swag over the weekend. But yeah, you guys can catch me on Get Up, NFL Live. I've got TV the rest of the week and anything NFL related on ESPN.
And you've been looking damn good doing it. I've seen your screen caps.
Thanks. Not today, but thank you. Thank you.
Look, listen, you deserve a few minutes to be laid back. But now, you know, you may be the voice of reason. Shanae, I don't really know what we would call her. She was kind of in the middle ground, you know, like half here for the drama, half here to like, you know, smooth things out. But now we say hello to our brand new co-host, and she will have to introduce herself, give us a little background on her, and maybe designate what she feels her role will be here on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, she really needs no introduction, Elle Duncan.
Hi. What's up, ladies? I love that. I love that you're barking. Oh, because for those of you that don't know,
like Arsenio.
Exactly. I am a bulldog. I know that Kimberly A. Martin knows that well. I spend a lot of time on SportsCenter barking, obnoxiously even so during college football season. I am a SportsCenter anchor. I host the 6 p.m. SportsCenter, and I also contribute on Around the Horn in HQ. You can catch me on Around the Horn on Wednesday afternoon. And I am so thrilled to be joining First Take, Her Take, because I love these ladies. And it's never easy to replace Chiney Ogwumike, although I knew at some point something had to give, right? And I know how hard it was for her to lead this podcast. But this woman had to be cloned to do as many jobs as she does and do them so well. I always text her and just marvel at how hard she works. So I know that if she had to step aside, it was for good reason. And I'm so happy to be able to have an opportunity to chat with you ladies, because I think what you're doing is so important. And we just have a cool dynamic. We're also different and sort of going through similar things in terms of career, but we're at different sort of phases in our life. And I love the idea of talking sports with you ladies every week. And with that, I don't have to think about who I'll be on this show. I think it's just inherent that I will be the petty one, because I am Petty LaBelle. I'm Petty LaBelle. I'm Petty Wop. I love Peppermint Petty. So that will always sort of be where I will go and try to find some humor in just about every situation. That's me.
And I'm so excited because I want to tell you about a new podcast. It's called No One Is Coming to Save Us. It's a 4-part series from Lemonada Media about America's childcare crisis and the people of all ages who are crushed by it. Access to high quality early education and care determines a kid's future and their family's sanity. Laugh, cry, be outraged, and hear solutions in this 4-part series. Hosted by reporter Gloria Riviera, parents, teachers, and call it like it is, correspondent Kristen Bell, yes, that Kristen Bell, reveal how we can create the care system we so desperately need and, of course, deserve. No One Is Coming to Save Us is out now, so listen wherever you get your podcasts. Well, look, Shanae was a tough one to say. We don't say goodbye to. It's not like she went anywhere. See her everywhere we look. But Elle, when you came on the podcast a few weeks ago, just as a guest, and we were just chatting with you about your life and you know all that,
the draft.
Little did we know that this was going to be the move and come into fruition. You were going to be part of the cast.
Yeah.
But Kimberly and I both said when Shanae, we knew that it was imminent that she was going to have to step aside. We were like, if it cannot be Shanae, it needs to be Elle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's so
for
sweet,
sure.
ladies. That really means a lot. I hope that you don't regret that at some point.
I know. Well,
After Petty LaBelle, I don't regret anything.
tread lightly, Elle,
Yeah.
because we don't want to have to regret it. So
Exactly.
no.
So watch yourself, Elle. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
already speaking.
no,
I'm already
seriously.
speaking in third person. See, I'm starting out on a really bad foot.
We
ladies.
love that. You know what? I actually dated a guy once who like spoke to himself in the
Of
third
course you
person a
did.
lot. No, I did. And he would be like in the gym, he'd be like, "Let's go," and his like,
And
he had
say
an
his
accent.
name?
He had a British
Ew.
accent. He would say his name and like do like a deadlift, and I was like, "Okay, look, like I'm here."
Let me tell you, that is on the scale of people Charlie has dated, like story wise, that's
This
like
is the
not
guy I
even
broke
in-
up
I
with
love
on the
it.
podcast,
Stay
by
tuned.
the way.
This is fantastic.
Oh, him?
Yeah. He'd be okay, 1, 2, let's go. And I'm like,
Let's go, Andrew. All
so
right.
embarrassing. So
Can I just say, Charlie, like, I'm so glad to ask you this and our first show together. A full confession. I know ladies love accents, but I, in particular, am not really attracted to a British accent. I find them to be just a little too posh and proper for me. I do. Maybe it's the Atlanta in me, but there's nothing sexy to me about a man that's like, hello.
Okay, wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hello, doll. Like I just can't imagine being like, ooh, that's hot.
wait. So you were not into Bridgerton at all? Like
Okay.
that whole Bridgerton
Okay, yeah,
thing? Come on now.
but reggae.
wait, but did Regé Jean have now I'm thinking back,
He
He
did
does have an accent.
He did.
And he,
But
but
it's-
he
it's
is
soft
so,
and
but
sweet.
nobody
Oh.
looks like him, Kimberly.
No.
Like let's
That
be
is
real.
true.
It's not just the accent. That man
Amen.
is drop dead
Amen.
sexy.
he could be a
gorgeous.
mute
I
and we
know.
would love it.
Correct, Charlie.
Yes.
He doesn't have to talk. In fact, I watched Bridgerton on mute. Like so that's the exception. But
Comes in like, why are you watching this show on mute? Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
I
We
know
don't need
exactly
to hear a
what's
word. We're just here
Yeah.
we're just here for the eye candy.
correct. So you were attracted to like that was like, ooh, that was sexy. Like when he sexy talked to you, it was hot.
It's interesting that you asked that question because the answer is I've never been attracted to British accents. I just happened to kind of like this guy and I like connected. So I was like, okay, like I'll give this a shot. And now that I've been exposed to it more, it doesn't I don't not like it anymore, but it's not like to me the most
I can put up with the way
listen,
you
there
Right.
are
are.
like sexy
I can
accents
deal.
to me. I dated an Australian guy once.
Australian
That's
accents
sexy. Okay,
are
Australian's
it.
kind of
Are
sexy.
it.
Yeah,
Are
His
it.
accent was
Australian
sexy. And in
accents,
fact,
yeah.
this guy, this Australian guy, okay, he was now dating is a very, very loose term that I use. Okay. I met this. Here we go on a tangent from the accent. I met this guy at a gym in New York years ago. We saw each other. We kind of had just like a little flirty exchange. No big deal. Okay. Then the next day I go back to the gym and he's hosting this photo shoot. He's not in the photo shoot. He's hosting it for like some other people. So I start talking to him. He's like, oh, I have a fitness apparel line. So I'm here from Australia. We're doing like a US tour, doing some press, and then just doing some photo shoots at gyms around the country. I was like, oh, that's cool. So we start following each other on Instagram just to keep in very loose touch. I had zero idea that we would ever even cross paths again. So we exchange Instagrams. Okay, keep in mind his Instagram there's no signs of anything. No girls, no nothing. So as far as I know,
Oh, here we go. This is foreshadowing.
you're a single guy. And obviously if you exchange Instagrams with me, I would imagine, look, I don't know.
You're free.
You would think,
So as fate would have it, about a month later, I see him posting stories of him in London, and I'm in London. Like as of the next day, I'm going to be in London. So I was like, oh my gosh, so cool. Like, hey, I'm going to be in London this week. Let's grab a drink or something like that. But I meant it in a very casual. I would really honestly was not even trying to like go down that road. I just thought he was like, yeah, let's do it. Sounds good. I'm imagining us having a group as well because I'm there for WWE. So I'm going to be with friends. I knew he was there with friends. I'm like, okay, this would be a group thing. Next thing I know, he contacts me. He's like, okay, I made us a dinner reservation. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go. So I was like, oh, we're going on a date. Okay. So we go on a date. We have the most fun. So much fun. Like we just instantly connect. We're talking again, no mention of anybody, nobody. So, whatever. I ended up spending almost the entire week that I'm in London with this guy. I'm like head over heels for this man. It's one of those situations. He's like, no matter what this takes, I live in Australia, you live in New York, we're going to make this work. And I'm like, I met the man of my dreams. So I get home, start really doing some digging because I'm like, now that I'm home, I have some time.
Here we go.
To dig after the whole week of being with him.
So I Google his name, and obviously, like I told you, he owns a fitness apparel line, so he's not hard to find on the internet. Well, what do you know? What pops up? Blank and wife out on the town. Listen, I was mortified. And it really, like, I actually am very embarrassed to even be saying this right now, but like, what is a girl supposed to do? I had zero idea.
Yeah, he unwittingly made you.
And he had the Australian
accent. And that is a really bad situation to put someone in. And the worst thing is the other day he randomly messaged me on WhatsApp at that. Remember we talked about WhatsApp. And I
WhatsApp is
I did not respond. I'm like, listen, like, obviously you have zero place in my life. It was just, there we go. There's a story. So,
yeah, it's unfair to put you in that position.
Yeah.
Because he unwittingly made you like sort of an accomplice in an affair, which was unfair.
Of
like,
course.
And then dudes will also be the same ones to say that, we're psychotic when we do digging, but like, if you were just forthcoming to begin with, I would not have to Google you, search you, FBI you. Like, why can't you just be honest with me from the beginning and let me make a decision as a grown woman, whether I want to spend time with you or not?
I would never in my life, that's me. I mean, look, people make your own decisions. I never in my life would have even spoken to you.
Sure.
I mean, that's just not me.
Knowing you're married. Yeah.
Well, he took your choice away. Yeah.
That's and then like he made, we're separated. And I'm like, look, I don't care. Like, it is what it, and whatever the situation was, we're not actually together anymore. We're in the process of a divorce. That doesn't matter to me. That should have been something you brought up.
Remember, Charlie and I had talked to, what was her name from Catfish?
Cammy.
Oh my gosh, the host of Cammy Crawford. And it was like talking to her about why you need to do the digging, because people will tell you just about anything nowadays. You know what I mean? You just have to be safe. And it's unfortunate that you have to go into, like Elle said, FBI mode.
It's really
just to.
It's so interesting too, like, as we're making parallels here, because I think that's the beauty of this podcast is, Charlie, when you just said, or Kimberly, when you said that he took away Charlie's choice, right? Because to me, the first thing I thought of was that's essentially exactly what is happening with Naomi Osaka and the French Open. They completely took away her choice to make a decision to be fined, right? Which is fair. And that's the rules, whether they're antiquated, like she stated or not. The rules are you have to have media availability. And if not, you'll get fined. And instead of just allowing her to continue with the tournament and let that be it, they threatened her, they backed her into a corner, and they handled what to them was a pesty situation. So maybe a fly with a bazooka. And it just felt so unnecessary. And I'm interested to see what you ladies think, like sort of watching the situation play out, where now we've got this 23-year-old girl having to admit to the world that she's faced depression, that she has anxiety issues, when it has been very clear, you guys, since the moment we were introduced to her in that match against Serena Williams back in 2018, just how introverted she was, how shy she was. Didn't you notice that about her right away? So for her to have to do this so publicly, because the French Open could not figure out a better way to handle this situation, is so frustrating to me.
Well, and she, not only, anxiety, I think, has many different levels. I mean, she's been outward, her anxiety isn't just something, it makes me a little nervous. I mean, she said, I've experienced depression, since winning her first major, like you mentioned, the 2018 US Open. And I think that for that to be something that affects your game and is so strong that you would walk away from not only the sport you love, it's also your career, that you would be able to walk away from such a huge opportunity because this is so hindering. I think that's terrible. And, I was listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about it on his show. And unfortunately, there are those contractual obligations, as a part of what you're agreeing to do as a professional, is not only are you agreeing to play and put your skills on exhibition for the entire world, but you're also open to talking about it after the fact. So it is kind of like a double-edged sword. It's kind of a losing situation for Naomi Osaka, even if she wins one of the biggest tournaments in tennis, she still afterwards has to put herself in a position where now she's extremely uncomfortable, and it makes her almost regret participating in said tournament. And now it's gotten to the point where she's like, I don't even want to be in that position where I'm going to have to open up and speak, because now I know what's going to happen. Should I not want to put myself out there like that? So I think this will be something that maybe turns into a bigger discussion. I think now that the fact that she's stepping aside, there are going to have to be maybe some concessions made on, behalf of the major sports organizations who say something's got to give, because if this is really truly how athletes are feeling, you can't do that to them either, because it's ruining the game. It's ruining who they are. I mean, it's tough.
So again, coming from the perspective of somebody who is a reporter whose job is during non-COVID times to be in locker rooms, whose job is to sort of be a conduit between athletes and the fans, and somebody who takes a lot of pride in the job of telling people's stories accurately and fairly, and presenting athletes as the three-dimensional figures they are. I'm really torn by this because especially as somebody who I deeply care about the importance of discussing mental health and getting athletes to talk more about it. I'm torn because my job relies on athletes feeling comfortable wanting to talk, right? When I sit for one-on-ones, like athletes trusting me to know that I'm genuine and trying to get the story. But I also understand that, when an athlete speaks up, when you have Ricky Williams sitting with a helmet on, because, dealing with his anxiety in interviews, when you have, I remember talking to Santonio Holmes back in the day in the Jets locker room, and like, I feeling like when the crowd would get around him, he almost it almost felt like he was getting agitated just from the amount of people in his space. And that always struck me. And I remember realizing he was so much better one-on-one than when there was a crowd of reporters in front of him. And I think far too often there is an arrogance in media where, and as a reporter, I'm using that term loosely. I don't think the media is one monolithic thing, but I think there's an arrogance sometimes with certain reporters where it's like, hey, I'm going to speak to you however I want to. I'm trying to get this information. And that's the end of it. I think this situation calls into question, it should force us for the media to look at how it deals with athletes, how it presents athletes, how it tries to get to know athletes. But at the same time, what I'm torn about is, like I saw tweets from other athletes congratulating Naomi Osaka and telling her, we're behind you. And I saw one tweet from Elizabeth Cambridge, who's in the WNBA, and it said, doing media is forced upon us. It's time to start protecting those that don't want to speak. Let their game speak for them. Being forced to do media shouldn't be part of being an athlete. Now, here's where I'm torn, because I don't agree with that at all. Doing media isn't forced upon you. It's sort of like the contractual obligation, Charlie, like you were talking about. If you're going to be an athlete, if you are going to work at ESPN, they don't just pay you to do nothing. Like they pay you for the services. Like you have to work in order to get a paycheck. It does, to be in the WNBA or to be an athlete, that comes with the territory. To be a celebrity, you may not like the paparazzi following you all around. We may not like being, public figures to a certain degree, but what comes with the territory is people now, because you're on TV, people now feel like they have access to you and your story. And it's shitty. I mean, no one likes it, but that's the reality of the situation. I think saying no media at all, I don't think is the answer, but I do think reporters need to use this as an opportunity to look at the industry. When athletes say they don't trust us, or when, regular citizens say they don't trust political media, it didn't happen in a vacuum. Like there are reasons for those things. I may be a good journalist, I may be trustworthy, but that doesn't mean that another athlete I'm covering hasn't had a really terrible experience.
Well, and I think the other thing is a lot of reporters, I won't say a lot, let me take that back. Some reporters or journalists, whatever it might be. I will say, you know, their goal is to sensationalize, you know, when you see like some of these, you know, tabloids or what it might be. So they might take what's said and put it out of context, which is in those situations, you know, you've heard a lot of athletes complain about, that's not what I said. I did not say that. You know, if you were to air it in the tone I said it,
the full quote, yeah,
you know, yes, word for word, it would be a completely different story. And I think that's maybe a little bit of the problem, but yeah, I mean, something's going to happen if this is a growing issue of concern among so many athletes. I mean, I don't know, could there be like some type of training, or I mean, gosh, I mean, it's like it runs deeper than that, like a therapy type ordeal in some cases.
I think that first of all, we're totally overestimating or underestimating really how many athletes actually do enjoy talking to the media and getting that kind of attention, right? So I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus of athletes saying like, we don't think the media is important anymore, because we all know that's not true, right? Like it's certainly a chicken and egg situation, right? Like who feeds who, but we both need each other, right? We have to, both exist to help each other, amplify the game, amplify their names, and vice versa. They give us the content that we need to build these stories. So it does have to be a symbiotic relationship, but it can be one that is revisited, right? It can be one in a world where we are very, very open about talking about mental health, mental well-being, as we should be. I think it's remarkable to have people like Naomi, like Kevin Love, like Paul George last year in the bubble, admit that they are suffering and they are dealing with issues, because it's so easy for Joe Blow on Twitter to say, well, this is a part of your job and just get over it. That may be true, right? It is a part of my job that I have to deal with Twitter dicks, but that doesn't mean that every once in a while,
term for them.
Like, yeah, thumb thugs, right? Thumb thugs. It doesn't mean that every once in a while, mentally, it is best for me to just not be on Twitter. And when your job is to talk to the media, right, and you have an obligation, sometimes you're just not in a space to want to do it. And it feels like there's got to be some sort of gray area that is, I'm not going to speak to you, and well, then we're not going to invite you to any more Grand Slams. Like there's got to be some gray on how these tournaments and these organizations and leagues can sort of help foster a better relationship with media. Because you're right. I mean, look at that tournament alone, Kimberly. We just saw a dude ask Coco Gauff, like, do you think that you get compared to Serena Williams because you're Black? Obviously, you're both Black and you're American. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just the asinine stuff that comes out of some of these people's mouths is enough to piss you off. And if you're sort of
that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, for sure. Because you have situations like that where it's understandable why you'd roll your eyes and say, what are we doing here?
Right.
Like, why are we,
what is this?
There's a lot of lazy journalism where it's like, hey, talk about blah. A lot of, like, instead of open questions, closed questions, yes or no questions. Like, I feel like, but again, I don't think that all reporters are like that, but I understand when you have situations like that, as an athlete, you're sort of like, what the hell? And I do think as reporters, you're not used to being the story, or you shouldn't be used to being the story. So you're speaking from a place of, well, I should be able to ask this person questions. That's my job. But you're never forced to have to answer questions yourself. Sure. And you don't know what that feels like. So when, like I heard somebody said, I had this conversation with multiple people discussing how I felt sad and torn about the whole situation. And like one person had said to me, well, if the mental health issue is that big a deal, like you're able to play in the tournament, you're able to play in the matches, but you can't talk to the reporters. Like that seems a little off. And I feel like it's that sort of thinking where it just, when people are vulnerable and give you a sense of what they're experiencing, it's not the moment to criticize or to say, yeah, that don't make any sense to me. That can't be right. Like that clearly she's making that. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, people are layered.
Like I feel like every time as a society, we go through something traumatic, whether it's 9/11, whether it's COVID, like you think like the George Floyd and the apparent, racial awakening that certain non-people of color had, that we would come out the other side and like be better or want to to seek understanding of other people.
Unfortunately, judging by what we've seen in these NBA playoffs being better, I feel like people have gotten worse.
Oh my God, they're going crazy. What's happening? It's like they uncaged animals.
Did
Like,
people
what's
forget?
happening?
Did people forget like how to act within society since we've all been cooped up for the past year? Because the things that have been happening, and it's like even last night, the fan running onto the court. I mean, are you
But
out
here's
of
the
your
thing.
mind?
This is what is so interesting to me, because I think it's connected between Naomi and how the fans, and we'll talk about this in a second, how the fans are acting. There's an overarching theme of how we look at athletes, how we view them, because I feel like people at large don't view them as people. They don't view them as
They're
human.
commodities.
They view them as
Entertainers.
Commodities. They're circus animals. It's like the whole gladiator thing. It's like, hey, I'm paying to see you do something.
So I own
like
you.
Jump.
Yeah.
Well, that's
You
the
know what I
same
mean?
as.
And it's like
Listen, that's the same as
that's-
what Elle just said. These Twitter dicks. Love that term. You know, for example, when all of us go on and people then think it's their place to comment on what I'm wearing. I don't give a shit if you like what I'm wearing. I chose my outfit because I like it for me. It doesn't matter what you think, or if you like my hair, or if you like this or that. You know what I mean? It's all these people. I think now more than ever too, people just find it acceptable to voice their opinion when they weren't asked, or to go out and, you know, do these absurd actions. And, you know, when that's not your role. You know what I mean? Like if you enjoy watching the sport, great, watch, but it is not your place to throw something at someone if you don't like them or respect them. I mean, it's very overarching. And I feel like people now more than ever are finding these balls to just do these outrageous, and I know it's nothing new necessarily, but I just think more than ever people are losing sight of what's acceptable and where the boundaries should be.
Yeah, they're emboldened.
Yeah, they feel entitled and emboldened, and there are no consequences a lot of times. Like right now, I think we're seeing, you know, the Kyrie Irving, I think he had the water bottle thrown at him, right? Fans have been arrested, but I feel like even
Trae Young was spit at.
Russell Westbrook had the popcorn nearly dumped on him, dumped on him.
That we would spit on, like that you would try to spit on another.
Let alone in a
person,
pandemic. Wait, spitting
yeah.
Now more than ever.
It just boggles my mind, and I think again, it really does speak to entitlement. And I feel like everything that we've faced in society throughout the pandemic, throughout George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, like I feel like entitlement, emboldened, like the Capitol riot and all that. Like there's just it's not just what, like people know what they're doing. I feel like that's the troubling thing to me. It's not like somebody lost their mind and was just acting crazy. It's not that. It's like they know what they're doing and they don't see that behavior as egregious,
because they know there will be no consequences or repercussions.
Right.
Like they're not, it's what it has become is people saying, I'm going to live my best me. Right. And which is important, but in some people's mind, living my best me,
you throwing popcorn and water bottle to people, you need to get your head checked.
It is in their mind, Charlie. It's them saying like, this is me. Like I'm passionate. He stepped on our logo. He stepped on our logo. You know, he's Russell Westbrook. I don't like him. Like it's just popcorn. These are things that they rationalize in their head because in their mind, well, I'm just being me. I'm passionate. I'm sorry. I would spit at my friend Tony over a pool table game. So yeah, I'm going to spit at Trae Young. Like they make up this alternate universe where all of this is acceptable and okay because nobody wants to take any personal responsibility for themselves. There is such a lack of self-awareness happening in society right now. It is absolutely disgusting. There's a lack of couth and manners. I teach my daughter manners every day. And I say to myself, I know other people are in this very same situation, teaching their children manners and then turning around and spitting it at another grown man. And it just boggles the mind that they don't understand how incredibly hypocritical that is.
You know what I love when people, back to the social media thing, when people will make some very, very rude comment on your page, you know, degrading you as a woman or whatever the case may be, something vulgar. And then I'll click on their page and they're there with their daughter. And I'm like, I'm sorry, wait,
Yeah.
you just
Hashtag girl dad. I'm like,
yeah, you just said like the worst things to me, and like it was disgusting and like vulgar, lewd, whatever the case is. And then you have a daughter. Would you want someone like yourself saying that to your daughter? I mean, it just
well, that's on Twitter. That's the biggest thing when people tweet at you, whether it's, you know, racist stuff or sexist stuff. And it's like, you click on it, it's like Christian, lover of Jesus, like, you know, or something like
Philippians,
anti-Black Lives Matter, but right. It'll be a Bible verse, or they'll be like, oh, you know, I love America. And it's like, okay, but you know, so yeah, I just think we've gotten so lost as a society. Like, we don't care to have empathy or sympathy or put ourselves in someone else's shoes. Nothing. It's just completely the things that we need right now in abundance are the things that people do not have the patience for, or don't want to give somebody who's not in their shoes. You know, like Charlie's talking about the comments, like, you know, like I mentioned, I think on one of the previous podcasts, like comments about me and my husband, because he's white, and the amount of comments that people leave, and I'm just like, it really, like, and I get upset about it because, and my husband laughs it off because he's like, these people are idiots, which he's right. But I go into, as a psych major undergrad, like I go into what would possess somebody to go on the page, to scroll through like years of Instagram posts that I've made and leave comments on pictures just of me and my husband, and to make assumptions about me or him, or to leave degrading comments. When you have, like, I'm sure you must have something else to do with your day.
No, they don't.
Yeah, it's pain.
And that's the thing.
They don't have anything else
you
to
know,
do.
that's
hurt people. You know, I try to remind myself of that when people are particularly low and cruel and mean. And that comes from my days as a server. You know, I used to wait tables and people would be the same. This is well before Twitter, and people would be the same, rude, mean, looking for someone to degrade. And I would just try my best to say, if they need this, like if this somehow fulfills them in a way that makes their day better, to tweet at strangers from an egg avatar Twitter, to say these things, to gaslight, to say inflammatory, if they need that, then good God, I need to pray for them, because I can't imagine having a life where that comes into, I don't have time for that shit. Like, I have a life that I love and enjoy, and I am a fulfilled person who is seeking joy and enlightenment. Therefore, things like that don't pop into my mind. So if that is what you do, if you troll, if you're angry, if you're upset, if you harass, like, I have to wonder what's going on in your life, what happened to you that made you this way. And the high road, which I try to take as much as I can, is just to pray, as honestly,
Miss Petty Wop.
Just to pray for that person. Because listen, I like to be petty about things that are non-consequential, right? But trauma and people coming after other people, and this sort of mentality of ganging up on people, it's not petty or funny. It's not funny. And I used to try to laugh it off, and it's just it's very damaging in many ways, because I think Twitter is a place where you can commune, and I like that aspect, and you can laugh, and I mean, I pretty much have curated a list of people that just make me laugh, and that's sort of what I see on Twitter, and a great way to talk with people, like in our job. But it's also such a dangerous place. It's a dangerous place because it's not reality, and we mistake it that way. Twitter outrage isn't real outrage. Twitter opinion isn't real opinion. 3 people on Twitter thinking that you suck at your job doesn't mean you suck at your job. Just like 3 people on Twitter thinking that you're the best person at your job, that doesn't mean you're the best person at your job. It's just constant feedback all the time. And that is so,
listen, I feel terrible.
Difficult.
I feel for these younger kids who are growing up with social media in their faces all the time, because they're going to have such a warped sense of reality. They already have a warped sense of reality. And I cannot imagine. And also just from a social skills standpoint, I mean, I feel like, your kids, like, are you nervous for your children? Because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like everyone's getting progressively dumber.
Yeah.
They are.
Yes.
I mean, like this where social skills, people don't know how to talk anymore. I was reading a story, it was years ago, that a school canceled one of their school dances because the students all said they would rather be at home on their phones.
Oh
They
no,
literally
Charlie,
canceled a school dance.
I read a study recently in the last couple of years that talked about how Darwinism is like changing the way that children are growing an additional like bone in the back of their neck from looking down at technology.
It's like a horn they're comparing it to.
It's coming. Yeah. And it's like something that generations before never had, but they never were looking down at devices so much. So now it's starting to become a thing that's growing. Yeah. It's terrifying, really. I mean, I think that there just has to be a certain amount of oversight, and we just we're not going to move her to a farm in Utah and never let my children have technology. So we try to manage the expectation of it, and we try to, practice. It's like, she gets some iPad time, and then she doesn't get iPad time, and she can't trip over it, and she doesn't. So it's like, we sort of just find a way to expose her to a lot of different things. We don't lie to her about things, even though she's only 3 years old. We try to be honest with her and in the most wholesome way that we can. But hell yeah, it's terrifying, what she'll see and which is why I'm very intentional about never putting things with filters on my Instagram. I don't knock it if you do. They're so fun. But for me, it's deeper than just being beautiful and perfect looking. I just don't want my daughter to think that is an expectation, because it isn't,
that she has to meet.
That she has to meet. Mommy gets her hair and makeup done every day. And it does. I wonder, like, she sees me in these dresses and this glamorous hair every single day. She sees makeup artists do my hair and makeup at the house. Like, what is she going to grow up believing is normal? Because this is not. Yeah. And so I really try to make sure that I talk to her about how this is pretend and make believe. And because I think that it's important to get it in her early.
That's a really good point.
I love that.
So how was everyone's Memorial Day weekends? It
rained. Okay. Elle's in Connecticut, right? Elle, you're in Connecticut. Yeah. Charlie, you're in New York. I'm Jersey. Yeah. It was terrible weather. The worst. Terrible. And my husband is a June baby, and he hates the cold. He hates the rain. So he was just like in such a miserable mood. But it also, it was nice. I enjoy, I think during the week, the week is so crazy for us that I actually just enjoy the quietness. And I also, even though things are opening back up, I would like to go out and dine with you ladies at some point soon, because Elle is here. We're in the tri-state. I feel like we could triangulate and coordinate. Yeah. And now that we don't have to
worry about our West Coast sister.
Anymore, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean she'll still be invited, of course, whenever she's
Nigeria.
I mean,
we'll FaceTime her in.
Yeah. We definitely need to plan. But no, very quiet. The dog hated it, but yeah, it was a nice quiet weekend. How about you ladies?
Well, speaking of dogs, my dog has been gone in Florida for 3 months. 3 months. My mother has had the dog, and I swear if she could keep her longer, she would. I was getting nervous that my mom was going to hold my dog hostage forever because she loves Zora. But Zora and my mom are coming to New York today.
Yay.
So I'm so excited. My mom's coming with my Aunt Jennifer, who's also my godmother, and they've been best friends since kindergarten. So they're really fun. And they're both going to come stay with me for a few nights, and they're bringing the dog, and the dog will be staying with me. And actually it's funny because my boyfriend has never known me with a dog. And Elle, you have your own children. Do you have a dog as well?
No, I don't have a dog, just children.
But you have children. So like you get it. It's a different level.
Yes, you get it more than anything.
Very
kids,
similar.
So very
similar. Yeah.
Yes, you get what Charlie.
You're on a different level, but still responsibility. You can't just worry about yourself. Sure. Kimberly, you get it. Listen, I don't know what it's like to have kids, so I can only imagine. And like, are you nervous? And he's like, a little bit. I've never known you with a dog. Like, I don't even feel like this dog actually exists. So last night when he was over, I made him go downstairs and get the crate with me and like her bedding. And he's like, oh my God, the dog does exist. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, and just so you know, all this carefree Charlie that you've known for the past, 2.5 months that we've been together, say goodbye. I am about to turn into psychotic dog mom. And I'm like one of those I can only imagine when I'm actually a mother, because I'm crazy. Oh, you're going to be a helicopter parent is what you're saying. I don't want to be, but like, I feel like that's my destiny.
You better start reading some books now, girl. Get that out.
Yes. But like, yes, I'm very like need to always know what's happening and very hands-on. My kids will kill me. But I'm so excited to have my dog back. So my Memorial Day weekend was great. Cold, rainy, like you said.
It's about to get better.
Yes, but it is about to get so much better. And I think the weather is going up. So I'm just excited. It's going to be a good week. Al, how about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't do anything. We were in Atlanta for a week. So we were recovering with these 2 children. Traveling with 2 kids is the worst. That's what it's like. That's what I just, I'm thinking about Naomi Osaka, and I'm just like the level of anxiety just taking a baby on a plane is so high that it almost took me out. Like, because people are rude as shit. Like, they stare at you if the baby cries. I'm like, listen, it's not a 10-year-old that I can reason with. It's a baby. It's a 5-month-old baby. I can't tell them, hey, baby, we're on a plane, baby. Don't cry because you're going to interrupt people listening to their stupid music or reading their newspaper, baby. I can't do that. Okay.
And
it's
sorry, your little baby ears are popping. Stop that. Don't cry about it.
Don't cry about that. Like, stop, baby. You're being rude. And they stare at you and they're mean, and I hate it. So the idea that people could say, get over it, Naomi Osaka, with the amount of pressure that she faces when I almost crumbled on the plane pressure is just ridiculous. So yeah, no, we had to recover because traveling with children is no joke. It's the worst. Like, it's me and my husband, while we were on the plane, we're actively saying to each other, like, we're not doing this again. Nope. Like, we're going to have to take road trips and wait till they get older, because hell no, it's for the birds. So just a nice, relaxing week recovering from that.
I feel for you, and I hate to say, but like, when I was younger, I used to be one of those people, when I would hear a baby wailing and screaming, I would my blood would start to, because it does interrupt.
It's irritating.
But now that I'm older and I understand, I'm very aware that this is not a parent's decision to have their kid cry, nor can they do anything about it in most circumstances. Now my emotions are more geared towards the parents, where I'm like, oh, I feel for you. Like, I am so sorry, because it's uncomfortable for you to.
The empathy, the compassion.
We do. Please, everyone be better. Like, can we just make a shout out to everyone here listening, and maybe you can spread the word. Empathy. Let's practice it a little bit more, because
be better.
Week, please.
Just try to be sweet.
Be better,
we're all going through stuff, dude. Nobody wants to travel with a kid. Like, just show a little bit of grace to people, man. That's all. Just try to put yourself in their shoes just for a second and control that urge to be shitty or petty or mean. And I'm saying this coming from someone who's petty. But you got to check that. You got to check it, man. You got to check it, because it's just enough for you to have a look, and really set someone off and make their day even worse. So, conversely, a smile can do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So,
Think about
especially
how you
now that
somebody's day
less people are wearing masks. Now you can actually smile and people can see it.
Give them a thumbs up. You're doing great.
Let's do it. Let's practice.
You're doing great.
Smiles.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
You're doing great, sweetie. I say it to every mom. I say it to every mom I see in public, stranger or not. I'm like, you're doing awesome, because we need it.
It's true. It's true. You have a lot going on, and geez, I can't, look, I have a little dog. I have a little dog coming back, and I'm already like, I can't worry about myself anymore. I can only imagine. 2 children. Listen, one day it'll happen for me, but props to you and Kimberly.
Until then, enjoy and sleep.
Yeah. I'm, I'm Kimberly. When are we going to expect a little one from you? I feel like you're.
That's a whole
second.
Okay,
right.
We'll talk about that another day.
It's time to move on.
It's time.
Let's wrap this up, people.
I know, that's it. We did it. Elle, how do you feel after your first podcast? And you know what, Elle, because you are, let's actually give it to both. We do our Boss Lady segment at the end. Elle, I think you definitely deserve. I think you were our honorary Boss Lady a few weeks ago when you were on the podcast, but we'll give it to you again, because welcome. We're so happy to have you. But Naomi Osaka definitely deserves a Boss Lady shout out for being so strong, speaking her truth, not putting up with what she feels is unjust. And look, hopefully some positive changes.
Much needed dialogue.
Yes.
So our Boss Ladies of the week, shout out.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's going to do it, girls. This week's edition of First Take Her Take. Remember, everybody, to rate, review, and Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And before we do sign off, just a few things we want to tell you. First off, listen to Greeny weekdays, 10 till noon Eastern, where Mike Greenberg brings his unmatched sports knowledge. One of the smartest guys on ESPN. He's also fun, he's entertaining, and he's on ESPN radio. So if you want the latest on what's happening in the world of sports, tune into Greeny for the latest or listen to the podcast of his show. Also, like I said at the top of the show, The Ultimate Fighter is back, the reality show that brings top MMA prospects together under one roof to compete for a UFC contract is on ESPN+. Featherweight champ Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega coaching men's bantamweight and middleweights who have put their lives on hold for a chance to pursue their UFC dreams. Stream new episodes every Tuesday only on ESPN+. Sign up now at espnplus.com/UFC. And don't forget, every Tuesday after the show, you will also be able to catch me hosting After the Ultimate Fighter. And there we'll break down the competition, also talk about all the drama, and we'll have guests from the show, coaches, competitors, all of the sorts. So, ladies, that's it for us. We did it.
First of many.
First take, many take, her take.
Yes. We love it. So, ladies, so good to talk to you and can't wait to do it again next week.